YouTube, Dawson Rider here. This is going to be an interesting type of video. It's going to be me going over my thoughts on every single set of team suits in the Power Rangers history. Now, why would you care? You probably shouldn't. I don't even care. But hey, we're here. Let's talk about some suits. So I'm doing this in honor of the fact that we recently got a look at the full team of Cosmic Fury suits, which, as always, caused controversy. I mean, just anything causes controversy in any fandom these days. But caused a lot of talk about suit design and all that type of stuff. And it got me thinking about, previous suits, both ones that obviously we've taken from Sentai and some that are original and a mix of both. And I wanted to give my thoughts in general on the set of suits, as well as how they worked for that perspective series, as sometimes that can be interesting to talk about, whether it's something straightforward like the theme, like Animals, which is the theme that's present, or something like we did something unique where we didn't address the theme, like in Goseiger or Gokaiger, or a series where I think the suits played a role in the context of the franchise, which I think you'll understand what I'm talking about when I get to it. Let's get started at the beginning. I'm going to try to go over everyone, including comic and sort of movie type of stuff, but obviously starting right at the beginning. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was the Zyuranger suits. Now, these suits are classic and iconic. They're so popular even today, and we tend to get drowned out by them because they're just so oversaturated in the market. But that doesn't take away from the fact that these are excellent suits. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about with context, is I honestly can't say for certain. There's a very good chance we could have used any of the other previous Sentai suits, or maybe Sentai suits after to start PR, and it could have been just as successful. But I definitely think them picking these suits played at least a decent role in the series taking off and being likable to the general public here, because obviously dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures are a slam dunk theme for kids, and I think these suits in particular work really well because they're simple, not over designed, but yet they stand out. Especially like just the suits. You have that iconic diamond pattern that stands out. It's iconic, it's simple, but it's not boring. And then you have each helmet that is individualized and cool in their own unique way to let everyone have their favorite Ranger or helmet. And then of course you have the Green Ranger, an iconic first six Ranger design, standing out with his golden armor and his Godzilla theming. So yeah, these are great suits, and I think that they really did play a role in kind of perfectly positioning MMPR to be there. And it's funny too because we didn't acknowledge the theme at all, other than when we recruited them. And then obviously you have the White Ranger suit, which we brought into play to play with the MMPR Rangers. That sounded weird, but you know what I mean, to play alongside them and not be part of the Dairanger suits. And it's funny because he is in a lot of ways so distinctly different. I think that the helmet symmetry is similar enough that he fit in for me, and the fact that they made the chest symbol the power coin made me think, oh, that's the power coin, so he fits in. But he really is so distinctly different, and yet because of the fact that I grew up with this, it looks weird to me when he's with the Dairangers. I feel like he belongs with the MMPR team, but I always loved the suit. I thought it stood out great. I've mentioned this on numerous occasions. I like how this suit and sort of like the white golden hero physically represented Tommy's redemption, and I think it works really well, and it makes MMPR Season 2 and 3 stand out as unique. I can actually talk about the Dairanger suits for this, because we used them not only in Super Megaforce, but in the recent comic, and I have always liked these suits. The, neck-down suits aren't always my favorite, but I appreciate what they're going for, but I've always really dug the helmets. I thought they were really cool and unique, and they really stood out with the sort of golden highlights, and they were always kind of extra special and exciting to me, because it was one of the first things I found when I discovered what Sentai was, and it was like finding this cool Easter egg window into another world, seeing these suits and seeing them alongside the White Ranger. So there's always something kind of special and exciting about them. And I also really do like the original Black Ranger we created for the comics. I like the suits in general. Getting to see a what-if Black Ranger, not to mention black gold color schemes, always just kind of work. Then you have the Alien Ranger, Kaku Ranger suits, which are ninjas, and we had that to a degree, but it was more like aliens. And now you have purists getting mad that they dared turn the Kaku Ranger into aliens, and then you have people that were fine with it, but now are pretending they're not because they become Sentai purists. But I like what they did with the Alien Rangers. I thought it was creative and crazy. I loved that off-the-wall thinking they did back in the day where they're like, what do we do with these? Let's make them alien fish people. Yes, I love when they deviate from the source material as much as possible. And the fact that I associate these suits with an alien look is just kind of funny to me now. And I can see the ninja aspects now, obviously, but I also see them as this very alien-looking suits. But I don't know why the visors, the way the thin little visors were so different than what we got, and just the way they looked kind of alien to me. And something I always liked about them too, or at least one of them, I liked all the suits, but what I mean is I liked that Blues was this lighter shade of blue, which I think played into the whole aqua theme of the Rangers, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, I always like these suits, and I always see them as a bit alien because of the context, and I think that's something unique PR brought. This is another one, Zeo, where I think that it's interesting to talk about the context and how I think timing-wise they picked the perfect suits to switch to for this, because, you know, obviously we got a sneak preview with the Alien Rangers, we got the White Ranger, but this was the first time we fully changed suits, and the MMPR suits had become so iconic that it was a big deal to change the suits, and I think we picked the right ones, because the Zeo suits are this really cool mix of like this sort of future ancient tech look. And they look like Power Rangers, but they look like something different. They're differently designed. You know, we're not based on a creature. We got shapes. You have the little weird creeper lips, but they don't have a creeper lip silver palette. You know, they look similar yet different. They have this sort of Neo next generation feel to them, where it's something familiar, yet it's something entirely new. And I think that they picked the perfect suits to usher us into the new era. And of course, the Gold Ranger, also an iconic suit, just a great design, you know, black gold color scheme. It's funny, again, how I think of this as a Gold Ranger, even though now it's kind of clearly a Black Ranger based on Sentai standards. Like, that would be like calling, in a way, the Abre Black suit a Gold Ranger. But I also like that we only have our own unique take on a Gold Ranger that's about gold plating. And I think we kind of paid homage to that with the Death Ranger later on, because he's not fully a Black Ranger, it's more like a dark gray, but the idea of him being a Gold Ranger that's not primary gold, I thought that was kind of cool. I kind of just accidentally discussed Death Ranger then. Anyway, Turbo. Turbo, I think, are underrated suits. Not necessarily my favorite, but I think they're just good classic Ranger suits. Like the main suits overall, I just have a classic, basic, clean design, but the helmets are really unique and stand out, and I like the way that they represent the cars that they each have with the helmet, with the visors. I think they just look really cool. I remember watching the Turbo movie one time in the background when it was on HBO or something, and it was like in HD, and I'm like, man, those are just some good, classic, solid suits. Space, another set of great suits. I don't know if these were designed to have anything space in mind for Mega Ranger, because I know Mega Ranger really wasn't that space themed. It was more video game themed. But the helmets, like with the oval and everything, or the circle on top, always looked like they were trying to replicate in some way, like astronaut helmets, and I think it really worked. And it gave it this kind of sleek, unique, spacey look, the way you kind of have this ring pattern to their visors. And I always really liked, too, the sort of chest design with like the rank on there. I felt like it kind of lined up with the rank and file of the ship, which helped the theme. Silver Ranger, cool suit, really like it, not a whole lot to say. Ours looked white. Lost Galaxy. I don't know if these are considered mixed suits, but I know a lot of people give crap to the Charlie Brown thing on their chest. That never bothered me. The only thing that bothers me about the base suits is that the white part doesn't go fully down to the belt. Like, dude, just pull your shirt down. Come on, it's embarrassing. Get a size bigger. I've always loved the helmets, though. There was just something immediately that clicked with me about the helmets. They're just really good helmets, especially greens. I don't know necessarily why. I just always thought they were good helmet designs. Lightspeed Rescue are one of my lesser favorite suits. I think they get the job done for the theme. You know, they're not over-designed, they're kind of simple, but they aren't necessarily forgettable. They're just kind of boring to me. Like, again, they get the job done, but they're not my favorite. Time Force, on the other hand, are definitely a favorite. I think these are amazingly, sleekly designed suits. I think they nailed the idea of future Rangers for this that worked both for us and the Sentai, where they don't look too overly designed and like they're going for a crazy future. They look familiar enough, but they have this slickness, and doing something like the colored visors made them feel unique and different, like something we hadn't thought of yet with the colored visors, which I think just played into it perfectly. Quantum Ranger, great suit. I love the idea of a Red 6 Ranger and it being this sort of prototype feeling thing for the Red Ranger suit. Cool all around. Wild Force, another set of great suits. These always drew me in really quickly. The helmets, again, I'm going to talk about helmets a lot because there's a lot of helmets I like. Like with the Wild Force suits, I like the suits just fine. I really like the individualized emblem, but really what I focus on is the helmets. I think what drew me into these when I first saw them was, for the most part, outside of stuff like the Magna Defender, who I forgot to talk about, and I'll talk about briefly right now. Cool suit. I always felt like I should like it more than I do, but I always just liked it fine. Point is, outside of stuff like the Magna Defender, it felt like up to this point, most of the helmets we had seen had tried to stay confined to a circle or oval shape, depending on the shape of the helmet. But these were the first ones I felt like I really saw, again, outside of the Magna Defender, that really allowed the design to go past the helmet, when you got stuff like the horns, or even the eagle design going past, or the fins on blue. I thought that was really cool. Lunar Wolf, standout 6 Ranger, you know, it's a Silver Wolf. How could you not like it? It's just awesome. Ninja Storm, great Ninja Ranger suits. I love how they incorporated the idea of like the mesh arms. I think that was really cool and standout and made the suits seem unique. The helmets work really well with kind of the ninja feel of the mask. I like the way they opened up. Crimson and Navy Thunder in particular have always been a favorite of mine. I like the idea of doing the bug theme, which we're doing now in Sentai, but the color scheme just really worked. Getting those unique colors, Crimson and Navy, was cool because it was something we hadn't done before, but it wasn't necessarily outside the box, but it made them stand out. Green Samurai, on the other hand, is a suit that I like, but kind of sits in that weird category of Magna Defender where, have you ever had, there's certain things that just like, I feel is one click away from being my favorite, and it's just not quite to that click. It's like, yeah, I like it. I feel like I should like it more, but I don't know. Anyway, Abaranger, Dino Ranger suits, Dino Thunder suits, great suits. I think these suits felt like another perfect timing thing for the franchise with us bringing Tommy in, because they felt almost like, and they definitely stood out on their own. They don't feel like MMPR copies, but they felt in a way like they were thinking, what if we designed a Zyuranger today? And I think that really worked. I mean, obviously you have yellow, which is very distinctly different. Black, which is something we never did before, has a great color scheme and is a great suit, which feels made for Tommy. Like, I just think of Tommy when I see that suit. I think even before I knew Tommy was going to be in it, or I feel like I would have. It fits him so perfectly, especially with stuff like the staff. But especially like blues, it looks like a modern day MMPR version. Reds is different, but it's kind of similar too. Like, it's got the similar principles, but they just took the visor, and instead of being like, okay, it's round with the teeth on the edges, it's like, let's just make the teeth part of it. So I like the way that plays into everything. SPD, another set of really great suits where I think they did a good job of conveying a little bit of a futuristic thing without going too far. I like how the angles of the helmets have this almost alien feel to them. I also love the numbers on the suits. I think that was a really cool, unique thing to make them stand out, and also worked in the context. Shadow Ranger suits is an all-time favorite. It's just so awesome and slick. I love the armored look. I love the idea of an animal-esque one to represent an alien ranger, but also having a unique suit like that in a more tech-based series. Omega Ranger is obviously an all-time favorite. I love White Ranger suits. I love the unique color scheme on him. Mystic Force. I really do dig the Mystic Force suits. I think, like, in terms of the main design of the suit itself, they're a little bit basic, but I think it works, and I love the capes. I think it makes them stand out. I think that the helmets are really unique and simple, and yet are, well, stand out at the same time. I just really like these suits. I also really like the white Blaster Beetleborg suit that we got for the White Ranger. I think it's a really cool suit. Love Solaris Knight suit. I think it's cool that it takes like a different idea of the magic theme with like the genie theme and incorporates it and fits in with stuff like the cape, but he very much stands out on his own. I know this doesn't count towards the team suits or anything, but you gotta highlight how cool of a suit Nightwolf is, as well as Wolf Warrior. Overdrive, honestly, in a lot of ways I don't know why. I'm about to describe why I like them, but for whatever reason these have always been one of my favorites. They're just really neat to me. I really like the helmets. I think they have a really unique standout design. I think the contrast with the white stripe in the middle of the suit just kind of works, and they just work for me. And it's a rare case where, while I like the Mercury Ranger suit, and again, I appreciate how it stands out and has this almost alien feel to the shape of the helmet and the antenna, which works in the favor of Taizan's theme for our series, it's one of those rare cases where I actually like some of the main soups. I like soup. I like one of the main suits better than the Six Ranger suits. Like, whenever I'm thinking about my favorite suits, it's always like an extra Ranger. I'm like, way to be boring, Dawson. But this is one where I'm like, no, I actually like the main suits better. Jungle Fury. These suits were special to me because they were the first Sentai that I began watching, and they really stood out to me from the beginning, and they're suits that I liked from the beginning and have only liked more and more as time has gone on. I love how unique they are with them not having a belt and having this more sort of almost jumpsuit quality and the athletic quality with the gloves and the feet. And also, I love the helmets because it would be the very next series that would be the first one that I can think of that tried to blend animals and tech, because previously it had always been just animals or tech. And this one didn't necessarily blend animals with tech, but it was the first one where you kind of had more of a tech future-y look to the animal theme rather than it just being more strictly animal, and I think that really worked. And I also love the way that the power-up, like, it worked where these original suits didn't feel incomplete, but the power-up made it feel like, oh, this is what this was made for. It really filled them out. The white had a great contrast, especially with the symbol. Getting the whiskers and stuff was awesome. I always have a hard time deciding whether I like Wolf Ranger or Rhino Ranger better. Wolf Ranger, it was just so cool to get our first Purple Ranger, not to mention one that was just freaking cool. But the Rhino Ranger's designed so well as well. Like, it's got such a different animal, but the helmet fits in with the slick design, and I love how they gave them both different suits that are kind of their own martial arts theme, but fit in with the series. I also love the Spirit Ranger suits. You know, once you get into Sentai, a bit of that excitement of seeing new Power Rangers is gone because you've already seen it in the Sentai. So the fact that the very first year I was following it, I actually got a surprise with 3 brand new Rangers that are so well designed was so exciting. I actually prefer the original base versions. I do like the Master Forms that we ended up getting live action, but I prefer the base forms. I feel like Bat is my generic favorite because it's like a slick Batman Ranger suit, but I've always had a soft spot for Element because of Element. A soft spot for Elephant because it feels unique. RPM suits I always thought were cool. They're not necessarily one of my favorites, but again, I loved the idea of a series that did both tech and animal at the same time, and the suits also convey this cartoony look which fits in with it, kind of for both series ultimately. I always especially liked Green. It had this very cartoony character look to it that I always liked. And I love that, like, with the main suits, they kind of lean a little bit towards the animal more, and then with the 6th Ranger and the 7th Ranger, they lean on the tech more with some more subtle elements to their animals, which I thought was neat. Another cool touch is how they all have their own unique take on like the seat belts, especially for the Go On Wings, where you have like the flight suit belt, and they have their own unique symbol. I like when they did stuff like that, like for Rhino Ranger and Ranger Gold and Ranger Silver, where they would have the symbol that was like the main team symbol, but a version of their own. Samurai suits are weird. They're suits like, I always liked them fine, but I've never been too huge on them. They've definitely grown on me over time, especially Reds, whose helmet I always thought was weird. I know what they're going for with it, but I always thought it was weird, and I grew to like it more and more. But I think they're well-designed suits. They've just never been my favorite. Now, as probably an oddball choice, on the other hand, I loved the Mega Mode suits. I thought those were really cool. The idea of seeing these what-if versions that felt like they were from the 90s movie, I just really liked them. And I loved the Shogun mode. I mean, what a cool sort of battleizer we got. And Gold's Mega Mode with the black and gold contrast was just awesome. Megaforce suits. I always loved these suits. Even before we got to our anniversary stuff and all the drama around Gokaiger and the fans and blah, 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 I thought these were kind of perfect suits to play into the anniversary because they always felt like they echoed the MMPRG Ranger suits while completely standing out on their own. I love the contrast of the white and the colors. I love the vest look with the gold. I especially love the animal designs on the side. I like that Robo Knight continues that and also stands out with the colored visor. They're just really cool and underrated suits in my opinion. And honestly, for this one, I don't mind that we didn't use the theme. Not that I'm opposed to an Angel theme, but we didn't need to use it, and MMPR didn't address their theme either. Speaking of addressing themes, it is a little bit weirder we didn't address the theme with Super Megaforce because they are so obviously pirates. Like, they're unmistakably pirates. I feel like there's probably some Saban like, oh, pirates are evil reason, but pirates are also a really popular kids thing. But I'm not as mad about it as most people because I like when they're different, so whenever they do something different from the Sentai, it's an automatic plus for me. But I think that they could have played into this theme without directly addressing it, and maybe played in with the idea that they were sort of outlaws from the Armada, and it could have been kind of subtle. But setting that aside, these are just great suits. There's a reason they're so popular. They're just so damn well designed. And when you think about it, the concept of molding the pirate helmet could look like some dorky tokusatsu stuff. Like, there's some toku stuff where concepts like that, I'm like, yeah, that's dumb and dorky. But they pulled it off in a way that looked badass. And I love that Silver also, like, took the concept and was like, hey, let's do a bandana, and they made it different. I also like the different take on his colored visor. Also another case where, while I like Silver, I actually prefer the main suits a bit. Beast Morphers / Go Busters, I know this isn't next, but I think about this next in my head. It's tough remembering two different timelines. There are other timelines? The Go Busters Beast Morpher suits, always been a favorite. I loved the idea of not using spandex and having this more sort of traditional, like, professional looking, like, leather look. They always just looked so cool. It played into the spy theme for them. Loved the helmets, also kind of like mixing tech and animal in an even cooler way. Even though I prefer the base suits, I do love gold and silver suits a lot, getting some bug suits. I think that they did a good job of doing something so different in terms of their creatures, but they fit in so well. Now, going in Sentai order, Dino Charge. I like the Dino Charge suits, I really do. They're not a personal favorite of mine, but I do appreciate how unique they are. Like, they really tried to make them stand out from the other ones, which I think they did with both Dino series that followed. Like I said, not that this is a knock against the Dino Thunder ones, but they definitely felt like, hey, what if we did MMPR today? With these, it felt like, hey, let's make these different. And I think they did make them look distinctly different. And even though they're not my absolute favorite, they're definitely ones that lend themselves to a series with more Rangers because it's one where I wanted to see what other suits they could come up with. Then you have Ninja Steel. I love the Ninja Steel and the Ninja suits. It's unfortunate that I dislike both series that are tied to them because I think they're just such slickly designed suits. The helmets are just so sleek and badass. You know, the main suit is very simple, but it works. It's not over-designed. They're just such great suits, man. And Gold Ranger's suit is kind of a goofier Sentai concept where it leans more towards goofy than like Gokaiger's incorporating helmets or hats and helmets and stuff like that, but it's still also kind of a cool, creative design. Now then, of course, you have the most recent one we're using, which is actual Dino Fury, Ryusoulger. I've never been a huge fan of the suits, like with the drill symbol. Like, they're fine, I like them fine for what they are, but it's always looked a little bit off to me, especially when it goes down into the crotch. You know how it is. But I do love the helmets. Sort of for a similar reason that I like the Tokyuger suits, I love the helmets incorporating the idea of the Knight helmet into it. Really was cool. And again, I think they did a good job of making these stand out from the Dino series that had come before. And Gold is another in a long line of, let's do Gold and Silver again because we're boring and uncreative. But the suit always wins me over because it's well designed. Obviously, I've kind of already given my thoughts on the Cosmic Fury suits. They're not my favorite. I think they definitely look a little boring in some instances, but I don't mind them for what they are, honestly, and I just appreciate us doing new suits. I'm not going to waste so much time on it because I've talked about it in length already. Obviously, we have some other suits outside of the scope of the core series. You have stuff like the movie suits, the original 95 movie suits, which I've always liked. I think they were a great sort of more Hollywood take on the suits that honestly kind of hold up, and I think a similar approach to this for the reboot would work. And I always just really liked the way they looked, especially whites with a sort of sleeker helmet. 2017 movie suits, I know these are controversial. They're not my favorite, but I honestly dig them for what they are. I loved, both with these and the Zords they used, the idea of incorporating an alien feeling aesthetic to them because it played into the mythology in a cool way. And just the way the suits look and the proportions look very alien, especially ones like blue. Even Red's is the only one that really echoes the original helmet but still has an alien look to it. And even stuff like the blue stuff swirling around in the chest piece. Like, again, they're not my favorite, but I dug them for what they were. And you have Hyperforce. Hyperforce is one I actually am kind of disappointed I didn't get to talk about when I did my video comparing the Cosmic Fury suits to other original suits, because they kind of have a similar idea of incorporating the classic PR lightning bolt into their suit, and I think they do it better. I'll be honest, like, the base suits from the non-helmets aren't my favorite, but I think they're overall pretty cool for what they are, being this kind of basic original design. But what I really do like, again, bringing up my favorite thing, the helmets. The idea of the helmet theme for this series was awesome. I just love the helmet designs and concept for these, especially Yellow and Black Rangers. I mean, I know I'm biased for Black Ranger because I love Vesper, but the idea of a Cerberus Black Ranger helmet, I mean, come on, that's badass. Then you do have stuff like the comics. I'm primarily just going to be talking about the ones that are teams, since I'm talking about team suits. I do love the Omega suits. I understand people's complaint, and I have it too, that the visors are too samey, although one of them's a cat, so he stands out. But setting that aside, the visors are a bit too samey. But that being said, I really dig the suits a lot. They look familiar, but at the same time really unique and new, and I just love the color scheme and design of them despite the helmets being similar. I also like that I think they nailed the idea of these suits being these ancient alchemy suits that have been around a long time. I think they did a really good job with that. Some underrated suits I honestly think are the Solar Rangers. They take a lot of heat, and they're not my favorite, and I can understand criticisms, but these feel like ones where people just decided to hate it, and then everyone just group-minded onto it. Like the base Solar Ranger suit concept, like what the original ones all looked like, is too samey, and they're okay, but I do appreciate how unique and original they feel. But most of all, I love the Beyond the Grid version of all of them, when the Beyond the Grid team morphs. I think it's really cool, just the concept of blending together the Solar Morphers' connection to the grid with all of these Rangers' residual connection to their original powers. I like that concept, and that they resulted in these unique takes on the Solar Ranger suits that echo their original forms. Really cool. Again, they're not my favorite, but they're pretty cool, and I think they're overhated, honestly. Honestly, that's all I can think of for ones we've used in main context. I know we have a couple of the new powers, but I'll save going over those primarily for if I do a video like this for Sentai, where I incorporate more of the Sentai suits and stuff like that. I will say it was cool. We did create that original Green Ranger for, I can't remember the name of it, but for the story for Psycho Green, I thought that was cool. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all the suits. Again, I will be doing ranking videos and stuff on various suits this year for the anniversary, but I wanted to do this video in honor of talking about how the Cosmic Fury suits work as team suits. So let me know in the comments what your favorite set of team suits are from across the series. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications from my videos. Until next time, Dawson Ryder signing out.